looks good because I don't got any other options. Here we go. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's been a minute since I have been able to upload a review here. Lots of moving around, new life things that have been happening. RIP to my blue wall. I really miss it. If I could paint the walls here in my new place, I would, but I can't. I have been so amazed to see my Vampire Night videos getting the response that it has. It's so cool to me that I've been able to talk to people through the video, because that's the whole reason why I made it in the first place. I wanted to talk about Vampire Night with people and my love for it. Also, one of the reasons that I have debated on making this next video, because I really wanted to make a Vampire Night video. But the thing with Vampire Night Memories is I didn't really like it. I'm sorry. With my channel, I really just wanted to share why I love things and why I just, have positivity put out there. Vampire Night Memories isn't something where it's like, oh, I'm gonna tear it apart or something like that. It's just, I didn't really enjoy it. I know a lot of people have asked me, like, do Memories. I'll give you a little quick rundown. So Memories starts sort of where Vampire Night ends. Vampire Night ends with Kaname waking up and two girls that resemble Yuki and Zero are there to greet him as he awakens from his thousands of years long slumber. So these two girls happen to be the main protagonists, the main people that we really get to follow in Vampire Night Memories. Specifically, this girl. This is Ai, and she is the daughter of Yuki and Kaname. Yes, Kaname and Yuki have a daughter, and she's beautiful. Her name is Ai, which means love. Ai kind of becomes the new protagonist of the story. She's really fun. She makes things more lighthearted. I would say a lot of this Vampire Night Memories feels kind of more silly, especially when Ai is involved. It was enjoyable, but Ai's story, I think I would have appreciated more or been more interested in had the main characters of Vampire Night had their full story completed, if you know what I mean. But that being said, Vampire Night Memories is led by Ai and her growing up and her seeing her mother Yuki and Zero have this weird kind of relationship where they're crushing on each other, and Ai is like the #1 stan girl for Yuki and Zero. She wants them to be together. She's always kind of like pointing out moments when they're being awkward and that they should just get together already, kind of thing. And Ai, also growing up though, she comes to see Zero as her dad. Zero is her father figure, essentially. Zero and Yuki, they have like this designated time when they meet up and everything, but then Zero also meets up with Ai, and Ai seeks him out a lot too, and they get to like talk together and everything. As Ai is growing up, Zero is trying to explain to her that he is not her father, but she goes through what a lot of young girls, little girls, will go through with their father figures, where she falls in love with Zero and she wants to marry him and she wants him to be her husband, but then she also wants him to marry her mom, Yuki, because she knows that they love each other so much. And basically, Yuki and Zero are still being like little emo kids, and then Ai is like the derpy meme girl in the middle being like, yo, stop taking yourself so seriously. So at the beginning of the first volume, Zero's love for Yuki has been proclaimed. That is out in the open. We know that they are simping for each other. And Yuki, because Kaname has been frozen, she starts to get really, really hungry. And as we learned in Vampire Night, a vampire's bloodlust their thirst can only be quenched by the blood of their lover. Now we're thinking, oh, she's thirsty again and she can't drink from Kaname, but maybe she could drink from Zero. Well, it turns out that while that is true, she is pregnant. with Ai, with her and Kaname's child. All the vampires, the main group that we love, the aristocrats, they are very doting on Ai. They love her. They raise her with so much care and attentiveness. And again, she's kind of just like there bringing fun to everybody's moody goth lives. Zero is a vampire hunter still, and he is working more closely with the vampire hunter organization now, I guess because he doesn't have to be in school and doesn't have to worry about the vampires that are in school. Now he's like on base. He has a partner that he goes on missions with, and actually one of the partners that he ends up welcoming is Maria. Maria wants to be a part of the vampire hunting society, and mainly I think that the reason that she wants to be around Zero, and I believe she does actually say something like this, is that it makes her feel close to Ichiru to be with him, because she can sense Ichiru in Zero because Zero consumed his twin's blood in Vampire Night. The rest of the story becomes a lot of world building is made. There is all this political strife in the vampire world, and it just becomes like a big political story. Oh, there's a little cat outside. Come on. But you know what? You have to say hi. You have to say hi. This is Artemis. Artemis is my little neighborhood cat friend, and he's gonna have to listen. I tried to keep him out because I'm allergic to him, but he's been meowing at the door for too long, so now I'm forced to let him in because he's just a baby. He's just a baby. So as we know, in Vampire Night, Kaname's plan was to rid the world of all vampires, including the pureblood vampires. So with that plan having gone super effectively, and there not being like any pureblood vampires anymore besides Yuki is now the leader of all purebloods. And one of the reasons, one of the political issues is that the vampires they're acting out. They're going crazy. Vampires of like all different levels of society, like there's level E's. Now nobody's really keeping them in check because the purebloods were the ones keeping them in check. They were keeping them fearful. So now there's kind of like this anarchy, like chaos going on where vampires are just running amok, going all over the place, doing whatever they want, and making a really bad name for all the vampires who don't want to hurt people or humans. So that's kind of like the main political issue that they're trying to solve and take care of in Vampire Night Memories. So for me, with all of this being said, I just didn't really care. I don't know, I just didn't need to know about all the politics, and there's just so many side characters that I'm just like, okay, I guess we know about them now. I don't know, I'm a romance girly. I love romance, and I prefer Vampire Night to Memories. Of course, I have all of Memories collection because diehard Vampire Night fan still, but there just wasn't a lot for me to really I just couldn't follow because I wasn't really that invested, or I was reading to look for the moments when Yuki and Zero were going to be together, or any kind of little glimpses of any of the other vampires that we know. And so that's what I want to talk about next, because that's where some of my favorite parts about Vampire Night Memories come in. So what I did love seeing was the story between Sayori, and Idol. They were so cute together. I loved how their story developed and blossomed, and I loved how their characters were the ones that ended up together. The boy who gets all the girls and all the attention, and like Idol senpai, he's like thriving off of all the female attention, and literally the one girl in the school that could have cared less about any of these vampires, Yori, she's the one who ends up with him. She is the perfect balance to Idol. Idol is a really, really smart. He's very intelligent, and although he's a bit childish, as we see in his personality both in the manga and the anime, he's big brain, like he's like galaxy brain energy. But when it comes to girls, he is just silly. I love a girl, I wrote it down, it was girl who wasn't obsessed with the one obsessible guy in school ends up becoming that guy's true love trope. So what ends up happening is Yori starts helping Idol with his experiments in trying to create the cure for vampirism. During his experiments and his time in, his study, trying to like put equations and chemicals and stuff together, Yori is there attending to him, taking care of him, supporting him, all that stuff, and they end up falling in love. Now Yori, I think, is an amazing character. She is so independent and true to herself and her morals, and she's a soft girl. She wants love like any other girly out there, but she never compromises her values, her dreams for herself, or her humanity. She literally does not want Idol to turn her into a vampire. Like this, Yori, I swear, Bella Swan, me, could never. If I met a vampire, turn me into one, no question. I want to be a vampire. Yori was like, no. If you want me, you're not gonna turn me into a vampire, and you're gonna love me at every stage of my life, and you're just gonna have to deal with that. So yes or no. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this girl, she's more badass than any of the vampires, than any character in this entire series. Like, I would be so happy to see like Vampire Night, the story of Yori and Idol, because they're really, really sweet together. And I loved seeing Yori has always been like a very soft, like doe-like character, very sweet, very sensible. But I just really liked seeing her also show us her soft, like, heart softness side. But she's always been a tender girl, but basically like the tenderness and romance, I loved seeing that with her and with Idol, because Idol also became very like romantic, and it was just really, really cute. It's a very cute story within this story. And on top of all of that, Yori and Idol have a child. It's true, ladies and gentlemen, they have a kid too. At the end of Yori's story, which is kind of like sprinkled throughout all of Vampire Night memories and like all this other stuff, political and whatever stuff that's happening. Just imagine, Yori is an old woman. She was an old woman when she died. She got to live a full life. And she tells Yuki, like, man, all this time and I still don't get to see you guys be together. I'm like, is this gonna be us? Is this, like, Matsuri Hino, like, is that what you want for us? Because time is ticking, and I need to see Zero and Yuki. I need to see them together in like a good bite, juicy pear kind of way. So let's talk about Zero and Yuki, the OTP, the best couple of all couples, even though they aren't a couple, and they still aren't a couple. I talk! Now, Zero has been grappling with the fact that he's super in love with Yuki. He regrets ever telling her anything about like, oh, I'm gonna hate you as a vampire and all this stuff. Like, all he wants now is to find a way to live his life with her. He is so determined to wait. As long as he has to for Yuki, he will wait for her. And Yuki, she's still just grappling with Kaname. She's raising Ai. She sees Kaname in Ai, and she's now, in charge of like all the vampires, and she's trying to complete Kaname's task, which was ending all vampires. So, like, whatever, I guess it makes sense. I guess she has a reason to like be busy and be like, maybe later, Zero, but like, girl, if you don't want him, I want him. But what's really frustrating about Memories for me is that Zero and Yuki's relationship is just teased. It's just constant teasing of like, here's a little panel here, here's a little moment here. Oh, Yuki says, if you care about protecting children so much, why don't you make your own to protect? Huh? And then sprinkling of the little panel of Zero and his child with Yuki, and it's just like sprinkled. It's all sprinkles. It's not really like a big chunk of family life, of this is what they say to each other romantically. It's just kind of like images, sparkly eyes, and like ooh faces and stuff like that. So it's a year after Yori dies that Yuki and Zero finally decide to get into a relationship. So Yori spends her entire life waiting for this to happen. She dies, she doesn't even get to see it happen, and then they decide that it's gonna happen. But the thing is, that is in the first volume. The first volume teases us, like the last page is literally, we've decided we're gonna be in a relationship. And then the rest of Vampire Night Memories is just those sprinkles. And so basically, like, the times that we really get to see Zero and Yuki interact and really have like moments of conversation and stuff is when Ai is there. Ai is the one that is, again, like, she's like the glue. She's bringing them together. She's the one who points out their crushes on each other all the time, and Ai is kind of like the subtext in Yuki and Zero's mind, but just like said out loud, like, you guys like each other, get together already, you know? While Zero and Yuki awkwardly sit at like 6 feet apart distance from each other, COVID style, every time they meet up at their bench at the school that they went to, which that's like their meeting place to catch up. And they're always like distant from each other. It's really funny. So backtracking to that whole thing, yes, Yuki insinuates having a child with Zero. So what happens is Zero is working for the Vampire Hunter Society. The vampires are going crazy and they're being really chaotic, and a vampire uses a child as bait towards Zero to, like, you know, he has to save the kid. And Yuki is involved and she's helping him, and she's just blurts out, if you want to protect a child so much, why don't you make your own to look after? And the next thing you know, we're seeing panels of Ren. So we are introduced to Ren, who is Zero and Yuki's child. I mean, we know who the dad is. That's pretty obvious, right? When you think, oh, finally, well, now we're gonna see some Yuki and Zero being lovers at home and raising a child action, we don't. And this is where Vampire Night Memories starts to get it's just questionable for me. Vampire Night Memories becomes the story of Ai and Ren falling in love. Yes, you heard it here first. Well, probably not first, but you heard it here. Ai and Ren, sister and sister, fall in love. One of Ai's motives during her trying to get her mom, Yuki, and Zero together is that she really wants a sibling. She wants a sibling because Ai has this like really interesting obsession with like being a really strong, really amazing vampire. The way that Matsuri Hino writes is like, there's not a lot of details. Some things are kind of like, I don't know how would you explain it? It's like Ai wants to have a bunch of information and knowledge. She wants to be really strong. She wants to have a sibling so that she can always have someone to feed off of and never have to worry about that. So there's a lot of questions that come into play too, because it's like, okay, Ai wants to have a sibling so she can feed off of that sibling because she wants to fall in love with that sibling. Like she's prepared to fall in love, whether it's romantic or just sisterly or whatever it is. She's prepared to fall into true love with that sibling and is going to use them to feed her. She very, very much so is going to use Ren. That's kind of like her intention there with trying to get a sibling. So this is where I feel like Memories starts to kind of make the lore of Vampire Night confusing. So, for example, Ai, again, wants to have this sibling so that she can feed off of her and stuff, but as the story goes on and Ren grows up and everything, Ai is obsessively in love with her, like romantic, physical attraction, the whole 9 yards, which it could be said that, like, okay, Ren looks like Zero, who when she was younger she was attracted to, and that's a father figure. I don't know. There's a lot of like Odyssean, Freudian, that kind of stuff going on, and it just kind of complicated the lore of Vampire Knight for me, because I'm thinking, what about Rido? So I want to talk about Rido versus Ai. There's a lot of similarities in Rido's actions and Ai's actions. The things that they wanted were very similar. Rido wanted to be really strong. He wanted to end up being like the ruler of all vampires. He fell in love with his little sister, deeply, deeply in love, and was obsessively wanted her. And Ai is like the same thing. She wants to be really strong. She wants to have all this knowledge. She wants to have someone to feed off of so that she can always be like a really powerful pureblood vampire. She's like obsessed with power. If you like look at the way she speaks and everything, her personality doesn't seem that much different than what Rido's would have been according to Fleeting Dreams. And I actually read an excerpt of a story from Fleeting Dreams that involves Rido and him when he first meets Judy when she's born, and he falls in love with her. So if you would like to listen to what that excerpt is, you can check my other video, and I'll put this timestamp of it here and everything and link it at the bottom. His personality seemed joyful, happy, carefree. I love my sister, I'm gonna take care of her. I, by all accounts, was like more diabolical with wanting Ren. She begged for her, and like from the beginning knew Ren is going to feed my plans and my desires for myself. Now, I really does fall in love with Ren for who she is, not just because she's like a personal blood bank to her, because at the end of the day, you do have to be in love with that person in order to be fed by the blood that they give you. So I guess I'm just wondering why it's okay for Ai to be this way, but it wasn't okay for Rido to be this way. I mean, what was the difference? In the lore and the way that they were described, there's just not really a difference between their actions. So in the end, Vampire Knight Memories, which is still actually not finished, the eighth volume came out just like 2 summers ago in July. Yeah, it's been a while since this story has been, developing, and so far it's just like there's emperors and princes and all these different characters that I'm just like, I just want Zero and Yuki to be together. I just want to see that, please. I don't want to be like Yori and die before I get to see that. So that's really why I just don't really enjoy Vampire Knight Memories that much. It's just stuff that I don't care about, and then it just becomes about Ai and Ren and their relationship blossoming and like literally like insinuating them having like physical relations and stuff, and I don't really enjoy that aspect, because listen, like it was one thing for it to be like, oh, Kaname is like Yuki's brother, but actually he's in like the body of a brother and he was the progenitor, and all this like magical, fantastical, like woo, like crazy stuff that like got us to that point. And for me, I could be like, okay, I see how this like works as a story. But now it feels like Memories just straight out does what what most people are worried about was happening in Vampire Knight, and why a lot of people like love to hate Vampire Knight. It's weird. I don't like, for me, Vampire Knight is like perfect, untouchable, beautiful story, but Vampire Knight Memories is just like, it really doesn't need to happen. I don't care about any of the politics. I don't really care about Ai and Ren. I don't really care about what's going on. I mean, we get to also see Kaname living his life as a human, with Ai and Ren being his like tour guides through life. They take him around, they show him the world through a human's eyes, and that's really cute to see those little moments. But again, they're not really like necessary, like I wasn't begging for them. I feel like Kaname's story, it ended so perfectly. It was a great wrap. It was a great ending for him. I just didn't need anything else about Kaname or anything like that. But I mean, we did get that in Vampire Night Memories. I feel like if Memories had just shown us more of Yuki and Zero, then I wouldn't mind so much. Like, I would like to see little side stories like Kaname being a human with Ai and Ren, and all our other little side characters like Ruka getting married. Ruka gets married, and then there's even like a little tiny blip of a story with Shin and Rima who get married also, and those things are really cute, but I feel like they're barely touched on. It's just kind of like, boom, that happened. And I don't know, we don't really get to like delve into them. Instead, we spend all this time delving into like the politics and Ai and Ren falling in love, and it's just like I don't really care. Also, another random little moment that's thrown in there is Kaien Cross dies. He dies almost alone. Ai comes to him and is at his bedside. In his final moments, she offers to turn him into a vampire so he can live forever, but he doesn't need that. He refuses. Also, Cross was kind of in love with Judy, and we do get to see little moments of that in Vampire Night Memories. Also, we get to see Kaien like kind of crushing on Judy, respectfully. I don't know, it's just like there's lots of little side stories, but they're interwoven with the whole political craziness of all this people and new characters that I don't really care about, that take up the time of the characters that I was made to love in Vampire Night. Like, I was very sad when Kaien Cross died, but it just didn't feel like the scene. It wasn't. He deserved more of a moment, I think, in between everything that was going on. So yeah, personally, I don't really love Memories. I love the art. It's absolutely beautiful, and the reason that I'm all dressed in blue today is because Memories feels blue. It feels icy cold, maybe because it's like we're Kaname. We're experiencing. That's what it is. We are Kaname, frozen in time, while all these people's lives go on. That's what it is. That's why blue stood out to me. Oh my god, that's crazy. I don't know how many more volumes of Vampire Night Memories we can expect. I don't know when we can expect them. I just know it's been a really long time since, I mean, they're still coming out, and I'm sure the art takes like a really, really long time to make beautiful, because it is so beautiful. So I don't know when the next volume's coming, how long it's supposed to be. I wish I was more anxious to see what happens next. I don't feel that like, oh my god, when's the next one coming out kind of feeling, because I just don't know. I don't trust you, Hino. I don't trust you because it's been 8 volumes and we've barely gotten like little sparkle eye moments from Yuki and Zero, and they're the ones that we care about. What I think also one of the issues that I have with Memories is that I read it, but I don't really remember a lot. It's like the thoughts felt jumbled in the plot and the way that the story was told. It felt like, oh, and this happened, and this happened. I think that there's just too much that is jumbled, too many thoughts that are just like all over the place in Memories, and it just makes it hard to like keep up with. I don't know who Vampire Night Memories is written for, because the Vampire Knight series feels like something that was written for girls who love romance and vampires and gothic culture and all that stuff. And I think that the way that Vampire Knight was written was just unbelievably gorgeous and beautiful. And Vampire Knight Memories has its moments of really like beautiful writing and just like the little side stories that we see, but it overall, just like as a whole, which it's not even done yet, as a whole it just feels scattered to me. And so with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I would love to hear what your thoughts are on Memories. Did you like it? Did you like it more than Vampire Knight? I would love to hear what your thoughts are. I am really excited because I do have some more vampire content, not necessarily Vampire Knight, but I have some more vampire videos that I'm going to be releasing soon, and I'm very excited to share them with you, and some more other commentary videos too. And I am just glad to be back. I'm glad to share all these thoughts with you, and so excited to hear everybody's thoughts in return. Please like and subscribe this video, and thank you to everyone who has found my channel recently. It means so much to me that people are resonating with the videos that I'm putting out and the discussions that are being started and had, and all the opinions being shared everywhere. I love it. So cool. That is what this channel is for. It's all about sharing our fictional opinions. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye!